service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In a visit to the headquarters of the Ministry of National Defense, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has hailed the efforts of the army in defending their homeland, saying that the commemoration of the National Day of Remembrance reflects the pride of the Algerian people in their honorable and glorious history. President Tebboune has recalled Algeria's unwavering and unconditional commitment to just causes, including the Palestinian cause and the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination. UNRWA has warned that the Gaza Strip is still deprived of humanitarian aid after the seizure by the Israeli occupation of the vital Rafah crossing point. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Zmani. The President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, visited the headquarters of the Ministry of National Defense. The President of the Republic was welcomed on his arrival by Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, Army General Said Shengriha. The President of the Republic delivered a speech to the officers and personnel of the People's National Army, which was broadcast by video conference to all the commands of the forces, the 6 military regions, the major units, and the higher education establishments in national territory. He greeted all the personnel of the People's National Army, stressing that the commemoration of the National Day of Remembrance reflects the pride of the Algerian people in their honorable and glorious history.
إنه لمن دواعي الفخر أن أكون اليوم ما بينكم ونحتفي بمن سبقونا في الإيمان ومن استشهدوا من أجل هذا الوطن اللي انتم حماة نتاعو اليوم، شهداء المقاومة، شهداء مجازر 8 ماي 45 في سطيف وقلمة وخراطة ومدن أخرى من الجزائر، شهداء الثورة التحريرية. إذن هذا الأساس حتى نترحم عليهم سنويا ونسير على دربهم. أسست يوم الوطني للذاكرة، وهذا اليوم الذي هو 8 ماي لما نتكلم عن الذاكرة نتاعنا كتير اللي يلوموا علينا. الشعب اللي ما عندوش جذور، الشعب اللي ما عندوش سلف صالح مجاهد مصيره مجهول. هذاك علاش احنا نفتخر جدودنا، نفتخر بمقاومة دامت 70 سنة. 70 سنة كل مناطق الجزائر ثارت واحدة تلو الأخرى. شعب مقاوم، شعب رافض الاحتلال، شعب رافض أن تمس حريته.
He recalled the massacres of the 8th of May 1945 and the sacrifices of the Algerian people in the face of the barbaric crimes of the then French colonialism, saying, thanks to their sacrifices, Algeria is independent and her army is stronger than ever.
بالنسبة للناس اللي يشكوا في تضحيات الجسام مجزرة 8 ماي 45 راه غير لساني اللي يقولها. أرض مفرشة بالأجساد، أجساد نتاع ضحايا شهداء نتاعنا، دماء اللي رماوها من الهليكوبتر واللي رماوها بكذا في البحر واللي رماوها في هذه واللي شعلوا فيهم النار واللي داروهم في الكوشات نتاع الجير. يعني إجرام واضح ما عندنا ما ندرقوا فيه. اليوم الحمد لله بفضل هذه التضحيات، وما هي مزية حتى من واحد، تضحيات نتاع الشهداء تاع الجزائر اللي خلاو الجزائر اليوم مستقلة وخلاو الجيش نتاعها قوي وسيتقوى أكثر لحماية هذا الاستقلال. لأن اللي ما يصونش قيمة التضحية نتاع شهدائنا وما يصونش كرامة الجزائر والدفاع عن استقلالها وحريتها اليوم لا تاريخ له ولا مستقبل له.
The President stressed that a strong army and economy were required to defend the independence of the country, adding that since independence, the Algerian army's objective was to defend the country and not to control another nation.
لازم نصون الاستقلال تاعنا. الاستقلال سبق لي وقلتها نصونوه بأمرين، جيش قوي واقتصاد قوي. قد ما نقوي الجيش والهيبة نتاعو قد ما نقص من الأطماع نتاع الجهة الفلانية ولا الجهة الفلانية والجهة الفلانية. ماهوش جيش اللي قوي باش يعتدي. التاريخ يشهد للجزائر المستقلة من مارس 1962 إلى يومنا هذا عمر الجزائر ما خرجت من الشرعية الدولية. عمر الجزائر ما تعدات على واحد، تعداوا علينا وهجموا علينا، ولكن احنا لا، ندافع على ترابنا فقط. إذن نقوي الجيش، وتقوية الجيش ماهيش باش نسيطر على منطقة ولا نسيطر على جيران ولا لا، باش نحمي أرضي اللي ضحاوا عليها قوافل تلو القوافل تاع الشهداء. وده ما كان باش الجيل الحالي يعيش حر مستقبله بين يديه.
The President of the Republic also reiterated his rejection of any recourse to external indebtedness insofar as it constitutes one of the factors which jeopardize the independence of the sovereign decision of the state, before insisting on Algeria's unwavering and unconditional commitment to just causes, including the Palestinian cause and the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination.
داينا صندوق النقد الدولي وفتاوي اقتصادية، واللي يستدين ماهوش عيب وخيانة للشهداء، لأن لك تمشي للمديونية وانت قادر تنظم حوالك باش ما تمشيش للمديونية. تمشي للمديونية خلاص سكت، ما بقى لك لا تدافع لا على غزة ولا على الصحراء الغربية ولا على حقوق الإنسان ولا حقوق المضطهدين في إفريقيا وغير إفريقيا. إذن ما نمشوش للمديونية وما مشيناش رغم يعني الفخ اللي كانوا بانينه لنا.
The President said Algeria's development is tangible and unequivocal, and that the pace of growth, particularly with the completion of major projects at various levels by 2027.
حاولوا في ذاك اليوم كراج بلاد حقيقة، ما بقاتش آفاق ولا حلم ولا السكة الحديدية رانا نبني فيها، رانا ديجا في بعض الكيلومترات من تندوف لبشار نديروا مصنع تركيز في بشار باش من تما الماده الخام تمشي المصانع نتاع الحديد والصلب في وهران في عنابه وفي جيجل. وبالتالي سنه 2027 هذه سيت اون دات شارنيير دو لافنيير ايكونوميك دو بيي.
President Abdelmajid Tebboune said that only the Sahrawi people are entitled to choose and decide their fate in a self-determination referendum, adding that the Palestinian cause will never be forgotten as some parts attempt to do so.
فيه لعبة، فيه طبخة وما نقبلهاش وما نمشيش معاها، فيه طبخة لنسيان أو تناسي أن فيه شعب يسموه الشعب الفلسطيني وممكن يقوم بدولة تاعه. باغيين يمحوا كل شيء. فلسطين لازم ترجع دولة، والتنازلات اللي عطاوها فيها كفاية. وضعوا السلاح، فاتوا على أوسلو، فاتوا على كامب ديفيد قبل أوسلو، آن الأوان باش يديروا دولتهم. قضية الصحراء ما هي متوجهة، احنا الشعب الصحراوي لازم الاستفتاء ليديه لاستقلاله ولا يقرر قرار اخر، وكان الشعب الصحراوي اللي يقرر، ما كانش اللي يقرر في بلاصتو. شعوب كان شبان اليوم راه في عمرهم 45 سنه، زادوا في المخيمات 44 سنه هو عايش في مخيم، يعني خلاص فقد كل امل، باغي ينتفض، باغي يفوت العنف. احنا ما نقبلوا لهمش العنف، ولكن لازم الامم المتحده تقوم بالدور تاعها. لازم فيه شعب اللي مصير تاعو مازال على طاولة الأمم المتحدة، لجنة تصفية الاستعمار، سرعوا لنا بتصفية الاستعمار. ده الشعب الصحراوي ما نتخلاش عليه أبدا.
On the same occasion, the President hailed the efforts made by the various units of the People's National Army before saluting the commitment of the Army General Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Said Shingriha, to guarantee optimum operational readiness to our armed forces.
فيما يخص الامن القومي تاعنا بالطبع، يعني راني عارف بليكم ساهرين صباح مساء، وراني عارف قوام المعركه، وشاكر كثير الوحدات وشاكر الجولات اللي يقوم بها السيد الفريق الاول قائد اركان جيش الوطن الشعبي، ساهر على جاهزيه الجيش لكل احتمالات لا قدر الله. قلت له بلي احنا ناس مسالمين، ولكن كاش لمن شاكر التحضير نتاع الجيش نتاعنا كل الوحدات، ولكن المحيط نتاعنا نجم نعتبروه بحر هايج، حدودنا كلها تحت المجهر، زائد الاحداث شيء احداث، يعني ما يجري في العالم، اصبح اللي يجري في العالم ياثر فينا احنا وياثر في استقرارنا. وحامدين ربي وشاكرين ربي والرجال اللي سخرهم لهذه البلاد، اللي خلاو البلاد مستقرة، حدودها آمنة رغم ما يجري خارج حدودنا.
For his part, Army General Said Shinkri has stressed that the security situation was under control thanks to the efforts of the personnel of the National People's Army.
فضلا عن ذلك فإن الحالة الأمنية الداخلية متحكم فيها بشكل
In addition, the internal security situation is fully under control thanks to the efforts of our brave personnel in collaboration with their colleagues in the other security corps. The continued pressure exerted on terrorist residues, the fight against organized crime, drug trafficking, illegal immigration and logging, which are all parts of a dynamic that is constantly being fine-tuned. We are also working to strengthen the sacred bond between our valiant people and their armed forces, as this is one of the guarantees of the durability of the national state. We are also committed to equipping our units with the latest weapons and equipment systems, with an emphasis on developing a promising local military industry integrated into the national economy.
Now to other news. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has received the Foreign Minister of Sultanate Oman, Mr. Badr bin Hamad bin Hamoud Al Busaidi, who carries a message from his counterpart Sultan Haytham bin Tariq. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad Ahmed Attaf and the Director Cabinet of the Presidency Boualem Boualem. Earlier, Mr. Attaf had a meeting with a visiting Omani official in which the two sides evoked partnership relations and means to boost them, as well as the latest developments at regional and international levels, particularly the Palestinian cause. President Tebboune has received the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Congo, Isidore Mvuba, who handed him a message from his Congolese counterpart, Denis Sassou Nguesso. In a statement to the press following his meeting with President Tebboune, the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Congo expressed his country's will to revive the relations with Algeria, affirming a total convergence of views between the two countries' presidents. He said the following.
There is a total convergence of views between the Algerian and Congolese presidents, and as far as parliamentary cooperation is concerned, the President welcomed the signing of a framework agreement and expressed the desire to raise relations between the two parliaments to a higher level. President Sassou Nguesso looks forward to the conclusion of the Joint Committee for the relaunch of several files and regrets that the agreements signed in 2017 on the occasion of his visit to Algeria have not been finalized, and we look forward to the conclusion of the Joint Committee to relaunch these agreements. We are very satisfied and honored by our meeting with the President.
The Algeria-Congo Parliamentary Friendship Group has held a working session chaired by the chairman of the group, Baghdad bin Amara, with the chairman of the Congo-Algeria Parliamentary Friendship Group, Pierre Obambi, who arrived in Algiers with a delegation from the National Assembly of the Republic of Congo, led by its speaker, Isidore Mvuba, as part of a 5-day official visit. The 12th session of the Algerian-Turkish Joint Intergovernmental Commission for Economic, Scientific and Technical Cooperation, which came to a close on Wednesday in Ankara, Turkey, ended in the signing of minutes of discussions aimed at strengthening and extending bilateral cooperation in various sectors. According to a press release from the Ministry of Energy and Mines, the minutes were co-signed by the Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Erkab, and the Turkish Minister of Family and Social Services, Mahimur Ozdemir. The same sources added that the minutes of discussions covered areas of prospects for cooperation in all sectors, including energy and mining, manufacturing, pharmaceutical production, transport, information and communication technologies, startups, agriculture, hydraulics and public works. A memorandum of understanding was also signed between the civil aviation authorities of the two countries to step up air flights between Algeria and Turkey. Now, a symposium entitled Algerian Radio at the Service of National Memory was being held or has been held in Algiers by university historians and history researchers who highlighted the key role played by the radio in promoting an nationalizing the Algerian Revolution, as well as the preservation of the various testimonies and reports for history and national memory. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, has warned that the Gaza Strip is still deprived of humanitarian aid after the seizure by the Zionist entity of the vital Rafah crossing point, Said Bougazi reports.
UNRWA's Director of Affairs in Gaza, Scott Anderson, said in a message on the X platform that they were not receiving any aid in the Gaza Strip, describing the situation as disastrous for the humanitarian response. In recent weeks, UN humanitarian agencies have warned that if aid to Gaza are to remain blocked, fuel supplies will soon run out, forcing the closure of a major water production plant and interrupt the supply of drinking water in the north of the Gaza Strip. No fuel or aid has entered the Gaza Strip, which is disastrous for the humanitarian response, Scott Anderson pointed out. This new alert from UNRWA comes as the Zionist occupation army is carrying out operations in parts of the city of Rafah. The area around the Rafah crossing has been the subject of continuous shelling throughout the day, he said. According to United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, a massive invasion of Rafah by Zionist forces would be a strategic error, a political calamity, and a humanitarian nightmare. The UN humanitarian chief Martin Griffiths also said that the latest evacuation orders by the Zionist entity and its ground operations will lead to more deaths and displacements. He said that civilians must be protected and their basic needs must be met whether they move or stay, adding that the UN and its partners remain committed to providing assistance to persons wherever they may be.
The chairman of the Palestinian National Council, Rouhi Fatouh, has declared that the discovery to date of 7 mass graves in hospitals in the Gaza Strip, the last of which is in a Shifa hospital in Gaza itself. The third in the same hospital is further proof of the genocide committed by Israel against the Palestinian people, targeted by a plan of extermination and displacement of the population of Gaza. In a statement quoted by the Wafa news agency, Rouhi Fatouh said that the daily discovery of mass graves in hospitals from which medical teams have so far recovered the bodies of hundreds of people is clear proof of the horrific crimes committed by the Zionist occupation. The head of OCHA's office in the occupied Palestinian territory, Andrea De Domenico, told reporters that humanitarian operations cannot run without fuel, adding that the lack of fuel will affect life-critical sector across the Gaza Strip.
The closure of Rafah crossing has severed access to fuel for humanitarian activities, the entry of critical humanitarian items, and curtailed the movement of staff. Protection of civilians for us remain essential, of course, as it is humanitarian asset and supplies, and we are seeking assurances from all parties to the conflict that they should help us to protect those and ensure respect of civilians. We continue to advocate for concrete assurances and actionable measures to facilitate the safe and secure movement of humanitarian cargoes via all routes into and within the Gaza Strip.
On food security, De Domenico said, in the south, food was running out as delivery has been suspended, impacting food assistance, the 16 bakeries supported by World Food Programs and humanitarian partners.
Most of the food dispatch and distribution in the south have been suspended since yesterday, as partner-made warehouses are in the part of Rafah that has been affected by hostilities. It is estimated that most of the partners will run out of food stock to support people in the south of Wadi Gaza by the end of the week. Partners are running out of fuel to dispatch the remaining commodities for distribution to households and supporting the bakeries. Without additional fuel, all the food assistance will be impacted, including the 16 bakeries supported by World Food Programs and humanitarian partners. That will be forced to suspend their operations.
That was the head of OCHA's office in the occupied Palestinian territory, Andrea De Domenico, speaking to reporters. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, has denounced that the Abu Yusuf al-Najjar hospital in the city of Rafah in the south of the Gaza Strip is no longer able to provide services after the Zionist entity launched a ground attack. More in this report.
In a post published on his account on the X platform, the Director General of the WHO said Abu Yusuf al-Najjar Hospital, one of the 3 hospitals in Rafah, is out of service due to the ongoing clashes in its vicinity and the Zionist army's military operation in Rafah. He said that the closure of the Rafah border crossing is hampering the activities of the United Nations and paralyzes the delivery of fuel, adding that without fuel, all humanitarian operations will be interrupted. He warned that there are only 3 days' worth of fuel left for the hospitals in the south of the Gaza Strip, which means that services could soon cease. At a time when humanitarian operations, which are already fragile, need to intensify, the Rafah military operation further limits our ability to reach thousands of people living in disastrous conditions without food, sanitation, health services, or adequate security, warned the head of the WHO, calling for an immediate halt to what is happening in Gaza. The Zionist army launched a military operation on Tuesday, taking operational control of the border crossing with Egypt on the Palestinian side and closing the 2 main access points for humanitarian aid.
The International Observatory Western Sahara Resource Watch has announced the strategy of fait accompli that Morocco wants to impose on occupied Western Sahara by implementing the construction of gigantic new or renewable energy projects in the territory. Said Bougazi again.
In a statement published on the NGO's website, Sarah Aikmans noted that Morocco is becoming increasingly dependent on its illegal occupation of Western Sahara to guarantee its own energy needs. This represents an additional and major challenge for the UN peace process, she warned, pointing out that Morocco is already showing little or no interest in resolving the conflict in accordance with international law. But for Western Sahara Resource Watch, what is most worrying is the French government's offer to help Morocco strengthen its occupation of Western Sahara. Sarah Aikmans described the French government's offer to participate in Moroccan projects in occupied Western Sahara, especially as the European Union's highest court is currently assessing the legality of the implementation of the EU-Morocco agreements in Western Sahara. It is shocking that the French government is not waiting for the court's decision before making such a provocative statement, she added. At the end of April, the French Minister of Economy and Finance, Bruno Le Maire, announced at the Franco-Moroccan Business Forum in Rabat that France was ready to participate in the financing of a 3-gigawatt electricity cable linking the Moroccan city of Casablanca to the town of Dakhla in occupied Western Sahara. The International Observatory points out that the Moroccan Office of Electricity and Drinking Water, ONE, plans to build an electricity road.
Now, the representative of the Polisario Front in the Near East, Mustafa Mohammed Al-Amin, has held the position of the Algerian president and people towards the Sahrawi question. Speaking to Radio Blida, he also held the role of the Algerian radio in making the voice of the Sahrawi people heard in the world. Today, the Ministry of Energy and Mines is organizing a special ceremony to mark the 58th anniversary of the nationalization of mines and the 57th anniversary of the creation of the National Company of Researchers and Mine Exploitation, SONAREM. Here is a short program on the 58th anniversary of the nationalization of